Good evening and welcome to the Vernon Hills Park District Board of Commissioners regular meeting of January 29th, 2015. It is now 6:35. We are 5 minutes tardy, but we're good. Can I have a roll call? Can all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first item this evening is the omnibus vote agenda. Items under the omnibus vote agenda are considered routine and or non-controversial and will be approved by one motion. If a separate vote on any one item is desired, it will be pulled from the omnibus vote agenda and voted on separately. Items this evening are A, minutes of the special board meeting of December 18, 2014. B, minutes of the regular board meeting of December 18, 2014. And C, payables Les Granger and payroll through January 29, 2015 in the amount of $669,165.53. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Questions? Roll call.
Commissioner Moline?
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins?
Yes.
Commissioner Kessler?
Yes.
President Ballew?
Yes. Next up is our welcome to visitors and guests, our public comment period. Yeah, go right rush to the podium, and we'll move on. Financial reports for the period ending December 31st, 2014. Marla, any changes, additions, subtractions?
We are good as good.
We're good as gold. All right, thank you. And the first action item this evening, we'd like to make one slight adjustment in our agenda. Now we're going to move item 8A, which is the under new business, the
It's on the front page.
On the front page?
There.
Oh, sorry. I got it. The Deer Path Park Master Plan, sorry. It's that vision thing again. So
You have
I got him, but I hate wearing them, so okay. So we're going to move that up as if there are no objections. Seeing none, Jeff, floor will be yours.
Glasses make you look younger, Jim.
Really?
So. Well, we're waiting for one guest, at least, Amy Lamberti. I also just texted her to see, but I have not heard a response. But I think Joe Brousseau was scheduled to appear tonight. He had a family emergency. He contacted me about an hour or 2 hours ago, and so apologized profusely. So, so you can see on the screen, this is pretty well depicted, and I don't know if maybe Mike, if you want to grab a seat in case you can control, you know how to roll up and scroll up and down on this if we want to go a little further north. But I don't want to do this laser and go through you, so you know. This is obviously the north end, so this would be fields 1 and 2 on the north end of Deer Park, and as you come south, you've got the playing field here, which is a lacrosse field, and then yeah, go back south, Mike. That's good, right there. And so you see the entrance as you come in on Cherokee into the park here, the parking lot, the 6 tennis courts, ball fields 3 and 4, and then if you go down a little further south, Mike, Kids Castle. So this is primarily the area we're talking about within the plan. A lot of the emphasis is going to be on Kids Castle here. A big part of this, I think I've addressed most of this with the board, of that playground is going to need to be, it's going to need to be come out. It's 18 years old. All the wood is getting splintered. Our park staff spends a great deal of time every year sandblasting it and restaining it, and so we've done some things to identify some future improvements, obviously working with Lake County Public Works and putting in I think it was a 2-inch line, water line, so future needs if we want for restroom or any kind of effort for a spray feature area. So what Joe Brousseau's firm will do is kind of work within this, and he's done 3 of these Leathers playgrounds renovations in the past, and obviously, you know, all of you who have visited this, that you know there's a lot of sentiment in terms of the brick pavers, in terms of the donors, in terms of all the hundreds of volunteers that put in just a great deal amount of time to construct this, this Destiny playground. So we want to memorialize that, and Joe has some decent ideas that, unfortunately he's not here, that he could share with us. So this is an area we're going to look at. We want to look at the possibility of getting rid of the wood chip surface and making it a poured-in-place surface, making it, again, as accessible as we can for those that have special needs. Try to potentially incorporate some spray features right there where Mike is, right on this kind of north end of the playground as you enter. Looking at a design as you're coming down the path, potentially around these trees, and having an entrance into the park on this side rather than coming around where it's kind of hidden. So that's the kids' castle part. As you go a little bit north now, you'll see ball field here. We got new fencing, protective fencing that's got to go in. All of our ball fields we have in the plan for Joe to, provide some cost on. All new player benches, all new backstop fencing, all new bleacher pads and bleachers. And then we've also, and I don't know that we're going to be able to afford all of this with the cost. We asked them to price out dredging the lake as well, Evergreen Lake here. We know from our prior cost estimates on doing that, we're probably $250,000 to accommodate that. So that might be one of those kind of wish list items in terms of affordability. It doesn't really fall within the spectrum of qualifying for the OSLAD grant in terms of a component that would score us any points through the application process. So that's one. The 5-acre area up here is one of question. If there's anything that the board has any interest in us looking at, do we just want to leave it green? Do we want to look at potentially doing some parking? Parking is a key must in this park for our events. There's so much parking on the streets when we do tournaments, and it's problematic for the neighborhood. So this is something we may want to look at. If there's some kind of off-site little linear parking we can do along here, something we'll investigate. I'm not sure how you would, from a safety standpoint, how you would back out on the deer path without any potential issues. Obviously, you've got homes all around here that probably wouldn't be too happy, but we would certainly.
I said the phones are ready, Ray.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But, that's why we have community meetings, and we get out there and we get feedback from the residents when we do these types of projects. If you can go back, Mike, let's go by the tennis courts in the parking lot. So 6 courts here that need to be renovated. One of the things we've found just through internal assessments, they never get used at a maximum of 6 courts unless the high school, like, freshman team is over there. It's very rare if it's a very nice day, maybe on a Sunday. But we need parking. And so one of the things we've asked is either these 2 far north courts come out so we can pick up all this extra space for parking, or maybe we take these 2 courts out and we do some parking down at this end. But either way, that's something we want to investigate. Go a little bit further north, Mike, and then you pick up the lacrosse field here, which is in great shape. We've done a lot of turf, just massive turf management, renovations and controls in this area and irrigating it, and it's really held up nicely. And so the real thing is, as we go north up here in fields 1 and 2, whether we pull one of these fields out, and Tom and Joe Bruntmeyer are working with our affiliates and seeing what the future need is, because obviously if you take this out and you got now this whole area as green space, that you could do a lot with soccer, you could do a lot with lacrosse. And one of the things we've identified is just the need. Lacrosse is really interested in expanding their program, as they've addressed, and using both all of this area and then obviously the field just south of there for their practices. That would keep them off VHAC. It helps the village in terms of coordination efforts when they're taking some of their fields out of play at VHAC, that they would have some ancillary field usage in Deer Path Park. And it was interesting. That was a pretty a pretty heavy comment last night with people in the audience that were questioning why the affiliates never use the park district. And so I think that change management is gonna occur. So that was good to hear. As you go a little bit further north here, this is where we facilitate our outdoor movie in the parks in this area, and it's we're looking at getting a portable screen that inflates. We're looking at potentially berming some of this area so that when people sit, that it's a lot nicer environment. Putting some power out there. So right now we're running power all the way to the building across this area. So putting some kind of power in the ground here, putting an inflatable piece in there, and it just making that whole area and that zone a lot more comfortable for our, our spectators. And so that was kind of it. And then along the path, I don't know how many, Mike, do you remember how many poles we got, light poles? 60 or 70 maybe? Is it less than that?
Less than that, about, let's see, 43.
Okay. But they're 16-foot poles, and they're dated, and they're hard to keep. And so we've talked about, I don't know if you can go back to the Sullivan Drive area where those little pods are. There's little 3-foot pods along that drive. And I don't know if we can zoom in on those, but it might be able to give you this whole drive here. That's owned by the village, and they've got the little 3-foot bollards. They serve nicely. They light the path just as well. They're easier to maintain. We want to do LED lighting and introduce that as a whole plan within all of our parks essentially, and so that would be a component we would want to address as well. So part of the OSLAD grant is you need 5 new recreational amenities within your application, and so that's what we're kind of just here for. And whatever the board, obviously the playground would qualify for 1, backfield, ball stop, backstop is a second. If you did tennis court renovations would be a third. Also the batting cage area, I forgot about that. That's right in here. We're talking about a dual cage there, netted, synthetic turf, and some kind of power within that as well. So when people bring in maybe a jugs machine, they can plug in, have the AstroTurf as a surface, and that would be a lot. I think it would just really enhance that. Obviously, that would qualify as a new recreational amenity as well. You can put shelters up, you can put bathrooms up, you can put all kinds of lighting. Lighting qualifies just a little bit, but not as much. Parking doesn't do anything. We could renovate that parking lot. It doesn't qualify. So, any questions? I went through that pretty quickly, but that's kind of the master list, if you will, that we've gone through. I know Mike and James and their staff have, given some ideas about 5 acres, about moving tennis courts up to that area, and I don't think that's going to happen, boys. But I just don't know what to do with that space, and parking is a real necessity in that particular area. We haven't addressed ball field lighting. I don't know that we want to get into that right now, but that's where we're at. Amy, you're just in time. Come up to the podium.
I get to come up top?
Come up to the podium.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right.
So, this is Amy Lamberti,
Hello, everyone. How are you?
and she has, we're just going over some things with Deer Path, so if, Mike, if you want to pull in on Kids Castle. So, Amy has graciously agreed to spearhead the Kids Castle renovation. And why don't you maybe just take a couple minutes and tell us a little bit about yourself. And,
Who I am and why I took this big project on. Exactly. Well, first off, let me tell you, I love being here at Vernon Hills residence. So I have a 2nd grader and a kindergartner. And when I got the call, I had just been announced as a co-chair for State of Illinois for a tech conference. I was like, wait, what am I doing? I'm like, wait, this is awesome because this is for my kids, for my community. This isn't about my job. This is about a passion where I know it's going to grow across our whole entire area. So I was like, of course, yes, this is awesome. So that's why I decided to take it on. But why I'm passionate about it is in my own professional life, I am an innovation coach in Lake Forest. And so I just redesigned a whole entire learning space at our middle school 3 years ago. And this past year, I just redid a learning space in our elementary school. So I'm very passionate about just thinking different and how can we improve things for our future, not for what was in our past. And I know that within this park, the biggest thing is going to be getting the community, because if we can get them to support it, we can go above and beyond. And I know that the Park District is behind it, as well as if we can get the community behind it too. So Jeff and I had just met with David on Monday, I think it was, and I've already talked to over a dozen people that are like, what about this and what about that? And so ideas are already kind of flowing. And I think if we keep a positive light on it, because we are going to have some people that are very attached to it from the sentimental piece, but knowing that we're moving forward to be bigger and better. So that's my big belief with it, and I'm happy to, work with anyone on it with their feelings, thoughts, ideas, and hopefully we'll really be a, place that people want to be at in the community. So, thanks.
Awesome.
Well, we certainly appreciate you taking on this, because could be a thankless job. You may regret it later. I'm not sure.
No, it's for the it's for our community, which I think is so important.
And I know Mike and I were around, we won't say how many years ago when the first time it went up, and it was a big adventure back then. So, and there was a big community involvement around it, and it was very well received, and so I think it will be again, to be honest with you. So
I've been getting a lot of history from parents who took weeks off of work to do it, and moms who were making the sandwiches, and dads who were giving out the supplies and items that were labeled so they knew where they went back to. So I'm a very organized person, and I have a lot of connections in the community, through social media, if it's through Facebook, if it's through Twitter. So I feel like we can really pioneer together with this, as we in the past had done historically. So thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Amy. So, any other questions on the plan as just proposed? I think, obviously in Joe's absence, it would have been good to have Joe here to give you a little more of his background and not only master planning parks, but taking a park like, a playground like this and some of the things he's done with it. But he will be at the February meeting. He said he'll come back, and he's happy to meet with us in advance of that. But any specific questions from any of the board?
Mr. Robbins.
Are we going to be applying for the OSLAD grant for this project?
Yes.
And any idea what the budget is?
Not yet.
Okay.
I can tell you that the OSLAD grant that we will be requesting, the cap is $400,000. The project budget is probably about $1.5 million of what we can afford. And so, assuming we get the grant, and that's a big assumption, but it's one that we're going to obviously pursue. The village has agreed to contribute $200,000 to the Kids Castle project under the guise that it's a community effort, and so that's the reason we brought Amy on. And she's, as you can already hear, she's already involved in that. And so we'll be bringing Amy over to the village as well and getting some introductions there. So between those two entities and whatever Amy can do in the community, I think, she'll be steadfast in getting support from some of our local businesses to help with it. It'd be nice to know that, conceivably, half of the project budget could be from outside source funding, and that would really be helpful. So that's kind of where we're at. I know with the wish list, it could far exceed a couple $1 million, and I think we just have to dumb that down a little bit to see.
I have a quick comment.
Sure.
Well, I was waiting till you're done. I'm sorry.
I'm
Rather
okay.
than pushing a button, that's all. My only comment for right now, and I know this is way preliminary, but when it comes to taking out the ball field, I'm reasonably familiar with all the ball fields in the village, and those fields, although they're not used much I'm hoping they will become used more. Their central location, along with the fact that they drain well, as far as I remember, right, Mike, all those fields are pretty good when it comes to coming back after a rain.
Yes.
I would like to think that, and again, it would really depend on what lacrosse needed and soccer needed and whatever, so I'm certainly not saying one way or the other, but I can think of a couple fields within our borders that don't drain so well, that aren't in great shape because they're wet more than they're dry, that, and when I say wet, I don't mean the field so much, the grass as much as because they're skinned. You know, the dirt side of it takes a long time sometimes to dry out. The north side of Century Park, the north end of Hawthorne, those two especially, that if they're looking for areas that we should open up, those are, like Hawthorne, that one is so bad. I mean, I don't even know how much we maintain that north field anymore because it's wet more than it's dry. So I think as a village, or I mean as a park district within the village, if we're gonna look at taking out some ball fields, maybe we should consider, again, within the needs of the soccer and lacrosse
Yeah,
clubs. If those don't work for them, then it may not make sense, but.
Yeah, and I think, you know, maybe I was a little premature, Mike, in saying it's gonna those are things we have to study and
It was a quick
we have to
comment.
look at. I think lacrosse is just looking because the field south of there is a premier field, and then we've used 5 acres, and so between everything, they saw it as just a nice to have everything in
location. Okay.
one versus maybe jumping over to like a Hawthorne Melody, you know,
Yeah,
that
and
whole,
I'm
on that whole
certainly
north
open
end.
to either way. I just
Yeah.
wanted to make that comment.
Yeah. Any other questions for myself or any comments for Amy as she comes in? No?
Cindy?
I'll make a quick comment. Amy, thank you for taking this on, and I too was involved when it was going around the first time, and it was just so much fun, and then going back to the park after it's built and knowing you were part of it. So I guess I would encourage all residents, especially with young kids, to be involved because it is an experience and there's a lot of ownership and pride that you take. I know they divided people into skilled labor and unskilled labor, and I upgraded to skilled labor and routered some sections, and I still would walk by and go, I did that. So yeah, it's a great, fun project and something I think the community will get behind. So thank you.
Okay. Next up are reports and communication, and we'll go right back to Jeff.
So Amy, you're welcome to stay, or if you got, you know, a busy night, it's up to you. Okay. Okay, thanks. So with just the budget, we have our first budget workshop scheduled on Thursday, February 19th. That's a week before the February board meeting, so it'll be just a dedicated budget workshop. And then tonight we'll address the other matters with salary issues.
Jeff, before you go,
Yeah.
could you clarify the time for that February 19th budget workshop? I have it as listed at 2 different things in here. One place says 5, one says 5:30.
Yeah, I think it's later. I think I think it's 5:30
Is it
because
5:30?
it's not preceding a board meeting. So I want to be, you know, careful with everybody's work commitment. So if 5:30 works better, or if
See, I
6
had
works
6:30.
better, I think we're pretty wide open.
I mean, I'd already put it in at 6:30. Somebody must have told me 6:30 a long time ago.
We can do it at 6:30. We can bring dinner in at 6:30 if that works. Staff is flexible, so whatever is the board's desire, we can.
They're over there going, really?
All right. Board?
Staff is flexible, so whatever the board's desire is.
It's a Monday
Well, you
night.
don't mind me. You know,
What do you need, Mike?
6:30 is better for them, at 5:30, but I'm certainly only one of 5, so I'm not.
Anything work better for you? Nope. Whatever. Bruce?
Whatever works for anybody, I'm fine, I'm flexible.
Okay, let's go with 6:30,
Okay.
okay?
6:30 on the 19th
Yeah.
and on both 19s?
19th of,
February,
the Thursday, March 19th, that precedes a board meeting.
Oh, okay.
So that would be a 5:30 start, an hour before the board meeting. So, okay? I'll follow up with some corrections on that. Okay?
Thank you.
The VHEC lighting agreement, we're still, the village is still working with a contractor, and they're still waiting to get approval from the FAA on that. And so once they get the green light on that, then that'll be forthcoming to us in terms of how, and it's basically just a cost factor of our contributions and how the soccer club also is contributing to that effort. In terms of the park maintenance facility, the old park maintenance facility, if you will, the police department's moving stuff in as we speak. And then there's been some dialogue with the village about, future use of the site once the police department facility will be back in business, which is scheduled for September or October of this year. So I would fully expect that sometime in the next few months that we'll see some kind of request or proposal from the village relative to this. Thanks to everybody that came out last night for our new affiliate introduction announcement and meeting. We had a real nice turnout, a lot of good comments from our residents and some of their participants, and I thought overall the evening went very well. The young woman who's been causing quite a arsonist disturbance in our parks had her trial today, and it was continued to March 16th. She is not out on bond, so she is still in jail. So I, myself, and some of Mike's staff have been subpoenaed to appear, and we'll just wait to hear from the state's attorney on that. And we've, basically it's damage for us, and so the state's attorney's office has all the records in terms of our expenses that have incurred, and obviously we're working very closely with the police department on this matter as well. I addressed a couple items with the board relative to new development potentially that's going in at 45 and Buffalo Grove Road regarding developer impact fees, future developer impact fees, and then also the licensing agreement in the future for parking lot expansion for the library, and how we will kind of interface with both the village and the library on any future improvements that occur at that site. Their plan is to start in late March or early April, once the asphalt plant's open, to begin construction on that 50, I think it's 51 or 52 stall directly south of their current location for parking. That's all I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Jeff? Great, thanks, Jeff. Next up, Finance and HR Superintendent Marla Perino.
Good evening. Our 2015 Certificate of Status for Exempt Property has been filed with the County Assessment Office, and this is the certificate we file annually to keep our property off of the property tax rolls. We are continuing to move along with our move to MB Financial Bank. We just signed all of the documents this evening, and so I will return those. And so we're still looking for a start in early February. And we would also like to thank MB Financial Bank for their generous contribution to our sponsorship fund. So we'll be using that in a variety of areas that have been worked out between like RibFest and brochure, et cetera. So we thank them for that. As my memo that was also included in your packet detailed, we are moving forward with the BS&A software as our selected financial software vendor. So we're very excited to be moving forward, and we already have scheduled for implementation the last 2 weeks of September. Randy Koploff, our IT coordinator, created a technology survey and sent that out to all of our full-time staff on SurveyMonkey to get a better idea of training needs, technology needs for staff is kind of a precursor to the budget to get some better information. So we'll be looking at those results and funneling that into the budget in our budget meeting. For Human Resources, the district would like to welcome Susan Cadillac, another teacher for our Little Learners Child Care. Susan began working on January 12th, and she previously worked at La Petite Academy, Tutor Time, and Mon Jardin Child Care. And W-2s have gone out to staff. We had 409 W-2s this year. They are available online on our employee services portal, My Paydoc. They were also mailed to all staff. So if any staff is watching this and they haven't gotten their W-2, please contact myself or Debbie Minsky, and we can help you get a copy. That's it for tonight, unless anyone has any questions.
Mr. Robbins.
Marla, I have a question. We have a substantial amount of money sitting in the bank. Is there a way when we move over to MB Financial that we can negotiate a better interest rate on the money that we have in the funds?
Yeah, we find we do a combination because we do these sweep accounts so that we can keep money available for when we hit payrolls, et cetera, where we earn a higher interest rate with the bank than in the regular account. But then, as you can see, we're always pulling money from the bank account because we tend to get a better rate, even though CDs right now aren't great. Or we've done some notes where we can earn a little bit higher interest rate.
Even the monies are just kept in the normal, checking account to try to negotiate something with them.
Yeah, we have in overall, our rates and fees are going to be better with MB Financial, hence the move. Unfortunately, in the market right now, it's still not going to be a huge difference, but a few points different.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Marla? Okay, thanks again. And next up is Recreation Superintendent Tom Ritter.
That's it. Okay. Good evening. Sorry, I left my tie on my bed this morning. My bad. I apologize. I just wanted to thank all of our residents that came out to our Winterfest event on January 17th. We estimate 350 to 400 people attended. It was nice to have a 40-degree day, but we had just enough ice and snow so that people could sled and skate, and the sled dogs could do their demonstration. The ice sculptor did a nice job creating Olaf from Frozen. Had a little craft, so thanks for everybody coming out. It was a really nice day. Excited to see significant growth this year continuously with our adult basketball leagues that we offer every year from January to March. In 2008, we had 12 teams, and as of today, we have 34 teams playing in 4 different leagues. It's kind of making light of the titles. We had a gold division and a silver division, and then there was a bronze, and now we have a copper division. So we need more and more elements to keep these, maybe an iron division and a titanium. But so nice to see the adult basketball leagues doing so well. Remind our residents, I try and remind you guys this once or twice a year on camera, that we do have a drop-in table tennis program that started a few years ago and has been very successful. It's offered twice a week, Tuesdays and Fridays from 6 to 9 at the Sullivan Center. It's year-round. There's very few times that we've had to bump it for different events, so it's pretty steady. It's a $5 admission. We have paddles and balls if they're needed. We average about 25 participants per evening, so if it's something you'd like to do, whether you're competitive or you just want to play for fun, it's a nice group of people that would be more than welcome to take you in and have a nice evening of ping pong. Also, it's that time of year to start considering summer employment. It's not too far away. If you or anyone in your families out there are interested in working in a summer camp, working at the pool, whether it's as a lifeguard, you always look for lifeguards with that special qualification they have. So lifeguards, pool attendants, you name it. It's the time of the year to start reaching out to us over at the Sullivan Center. Our staff will be more than willing to get your information and direct you to our website where you can apply for those summer positions. We have 2 special events coming up. Next Friday, February 6th, will be just the 2 of us. It's the daddy-daughter dance that we do every year. It's very close to selling out, so depending on when this is broadcast, if you're interested, I would contact us right away. We can handle a total of about 220 people, seating-wise. There's usually around 90 couples, fathers, daughters, and then some second and third children in those families, so we're getting close to that number. So if you're interested, please register right away. Again, that's next Friday evening, February 6th. And for the parents, the second annual craft beer tasting event will be held on the 21st of February. That's a Saturday evening from 5 to 9 at the Sullivan Center. There's food, live music. We usually have about 15 different breweries and pouring different samples of beers. So if you're interested in doing that, it's $30. You can register online, purchase your ticket through our website. You don't have to come in to purchase it. That's something we changed for this year. So we look forward to seeing you on the 21st. And also for parents out there, February 27th, Friday, February 27th is a no school day. So we are offering a schools out ski trip and snowboarding trip to Alpine Valley. It's an all-day affair from 8 a.m. to about 6:15. Bus picks the kids up at the Sullivan Center with a handful of chaperones, and they have a nice day on the slopes. Again, registration's available for that as well. And I'm happy to announce, for those that haven't heard, the Park District was very, very pleased to be awarded the after-school program to be held at Hawthorne School District 73, starting with the 2015-16 school year. So if anyone has any questions about that, feel free to contact us at the Sullivan Center. We'll give you more information, but we plan to be running the program in the same facilities that it's currently being held at Elementary South and Elementary North, and to continue providing a very, very good after-school, before and after-school program for the families of our community. And that's my report, unless you have any questions.
Commissioner Dorhoefer.
Any complaints on the basketball, about the basketball court being the ice rink?
Oh, over
Really,
at Century North?
No.
Oh, you said an ice rink, I'm thinking of Century North.
Sullivan Center.
Sullivan Center.
We get that occasionally, but I haven't heard it any more than normal. I mean, we do our best to sweep
Three
it.
times in the last 2 days. From
You-
3 different people saying,
Are they referring to when they play on Saturday mornings and their Saturdays?
yeah, it was probably Saturday morning.
Okay. It is an ongoing battle. If you want to, any thoughts?
We are doing everything we can. We mop twice a week, wet mop, and we dust mop every day.
How often do we resurface?
Every 2 years, it's up in August.
August this year.
Yeah, you can usually tell, that's usually when it gets
Yeah, we do use a rosin cleaner. That helps, but it doesn't last long.
Maybe a tackier finish.
Yes.
And I can only encourage, I know Joe probably does this with his coaches and families, but you can never overstate it. Obviously, it's winter. Obviously, salt gets dragged in. That's what makes the floors extra slippery if they're not, even when they are maintained. If you or your children don't already do it, we highly encourage you to bring your basketball shoes that day, carry them with you and change, as opposed to wear them into the gym. And as a parent, we kindly request that you just stay off the court if you have, if you're going to go sit in the bleachers, just to try and stay off the playing surface, because that obviously has some of the biggest impact on the slippery floors. So appreciate your help.
Any other questions for Tom? Okay, thanks, Tim. Next up, Park Superintendent Mike Mormon.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'd like to start off with a couple of reviews of the parks. Beginning January 5th, we hired Rick Croza from the Wheeling Park District to replace our horticulturist Regina Caddy. Rick comes to us with an extensive background in urban forestry and horticulture. Currently, Rick has been busy removing all the EBA disease ash trees through Sullivan Community Center, Lakeview Fitness Center. That's been a real large job, and on the palette for the coming weeks will be Century Park and Deer Path Park. We've been stump grinding as we go. So currently he has down about 45 trees in about a week and a half. So he's a very talented individual. And we're anticipating very large spring plantings. We're getting the pricing on a lot of trees right now. Currently, before the end of the new budget year, beginning of our new budget year, we hope to plant about 28 trees for the replacements of those ash trees that we've taken down already. The ice rinks and sled hills, it's not like last year we had a lot of snow, but we've had some cold weather, so the ice rink has been open. We opened it on Tuesday night. We refinish it in the early mornings, and it'll be open this weekend because we got some cold weather coming in, and hopefully we'll get some snow so we can turn on the snow lights on the sled hill. We got a request from the Recreation Department that we needed a fourth safety town building. Gabby Rodriguez has fulfilled that quite marvelously. He built Chick-fil-A in our maintenance garage. It's on rollers, and it's he did a really, really good job on it. I think you'd be really pleased at how well it looks. In conjunction, getting back to Rick, we were approached by the Village of Vernon Hills. They're doing some large tree removals at Torrey Pines, and want to know if we want to participate with them, because we had some large ash trees at Torrey Pines, and said, sure, we'll help. Well, we dropped them. They're so large that we couldn't drop them ourselves, but they have a little bit larger chainsaws, but what we dropped at Torrey Pines, the real large ash trees, usually we have to contract removal of the large sections of the tree, the boles of the tree. But the village was kind enough to help us drop them and took all our very large ash trees. So that was a good intergovernment working relationship we have with them. Also, with, like I said, Rick brings a lot of talent to us. Rick was, of course, I was looking through the site, the Morton Arboretum. We're beginning to look at their Arboretum certification program. And a level 1 is a program of identifying 25 trees, and we have the perfect spot for it here at Century Park. With that in mind, I was concerned about, what's this going to cost us. Well, in talking with Rick Rockwell and Ken Lohr of the village, they do a tree inventory program. They have the software, they have the hardware, and it's just a matter of dedicating our times to go to Century Park, identifying the trees, tagging them with a little aluminum or stainless steel tag, and under the existing hardware system that the village has. Again, we're in the very infancy of this program. We have yet to talk to Ken Lohr or Rick Rockwell, but they seem very supportive of the program. When I look at this, it's a long-term goal for this year, then a short-term goal for this year, a longer-term goal as we expand this program. And we get a certification from Morton Arboretum at the very base level, very, very, very early. Over at Sullivan Community Center, in regards to the facilities, James has facilitated and finalized the motorization of the gym bleachers. We don't have to pull them up by hand. All you have to do is push a button and they're motorized. The bleachers will extend themselves. That's great. No more potential back injuries. And it's just a lot nicer, a lot more professional. The same applies to our basketball standards, backboards. They are motorized also. If you remember, you used to have to get on a ladder with a handheld drill to raise up the basketball standards. Now, again, it's been remote. You push a button, the motor's up on the superstructure of our gym, and they'll raise up automatically instead of getting on the ladder with a sidewinder drill. And that's been a real addition because that was it just took a lot of time. It was very slow. And last but not least, I'd like to talk about the Park Maintenance Facility 1. We're out of the building now. We've had a real good run with the village public works. They helped us clean the building. We had some issues with the sanitation line and the triple basins. They facilitated, clean that. We cleared out all the wood chips, and now we're out of the building completely. And the village has been, working with the village has been very positive in this regard. And that ends my report. Are there any questions?
Mr. Dorhofer.
Why Chick-fil-A? And are we getting any money from them?
Vice President Dorhofer, I'll relay that to the Recreation Department because they gave us a direction. We built it.
I'll pass it off to Jessica. She's not here. Jessica did secure sponsorship with them. Yeah, that's why Chick-fil-A.
That's the
They've
perfect
been
fit.
very nice to work with that, so.
And it looks like Chick-fil-A. The building does.
The drive-through?
Pardon me?
Does it have a drive-through?
Does it have to drive through?
No, but it has tables and greenery.
Just checking. Okay, any other questions for Mike? Yeah? Okay, thanks, Mike. Next up is Communications Manager Cheryl Barron.
Good evening. I'm happy to report that our spring-summer brochure plus our pull-out camp guide, it is complete. The staff is reviewing the final draft. It will be going to the printer next week. I'd like to thank our brochure advertisers. They are Allstate, Bella's Bouncies, Buffalo Wild Wings, Veterinary Specialty Center, Jacobson Sioux Orthodontics, and Illinois Shotokan Karate. It will go in the mail to residents the week of February 16th. We've also added for the winter a new tab on the website. It's for our ice rink in Sled Hill, and it lets know availability if it's open or closed or one or the other. So that's on our homepage. You could just click on it, and it will let you know the status of both of those facilities. We did submit some printed pieces in our website for our agency showcase at the IPRA conference. We did not win anything, but we did get feedback on all three, constructive feedback. And I have put some of the feedback into the brochures that are coming out next week or in 2 weeks. So you'll see what is going into that. And I just wanted to add for our craft beer fest or tasting that's coming up. The village head called me just this week, and they're giving us their kiosk at the Hawthorne Mall to put anything we want for that tasting. So we're going to be tomorrow and Monday. I've talked to Marty today about what he would like, any new updates to any of our the program or anything, so we'll be going over to the village, so that would be nice exposure for people in the area. And that's really my report for tonight. Any questions?
Commissioner Moline.
Yeah, Cheryl, when it comes to our brochure, the spring summer brochure, when will that go live on the website? You know, I know the mailing is the 16th, but
You know, it goes live when I get the final printed piece back from the printer. So probably it's usually about a week before it gets mailed.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Kessler?
I just want to share, I think the website looks really good since it's been up, and I'm wondering if you got any feedback, or if Google Analytics gave you any more information of what's working, or if you're...
The only feedback that I received, the website was people they liked it. They thought possibly we could have our social media more prominent on the website for people who do follow that, and I've already talked to Randy about that, and we're going to work on that. But pretty much our website was well received.
Good, good, looks good, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions for Cheryl? No? Okay, thank you, Cheryl. All right, next up, Commissioner Committee Reports and Communications. I don't believe we have any this evening. We have no board correspondence. We have no unfinished business. So we will move on to new business, and new business, whatever we got there. So we'll bring up the village VHAC IGA, and Jeff, floor is yours.
Well, it's a pretty simple transition. Basically, the IGA we have with use of the VHAC had language in there that was relative to the VHCYAA. And so we removed that and just incorporated all affiliates. So it's just really a page-and-a-half document. None of the other content within any of the clauses has changed. It just, to me, there's no umbrella anymore of, that everybody fell within under the VHCYA, so it's conducive now for all parties that are affiliates of the district. It's been reviewed by our council, it's been reviewed by village council, so I would ask for the board adoption this evening on this.
So moved.
Do we get to talk about it?
Yes.
Well, after the motion, right? Remember, we had that discussion the other night.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second for adoption?
Second.
Second. Okay, now we have discussion. Cindy?
So, question, when you're updating this, the dates are all reflective of when it was originally formed, so you keep the dates as is?
Keep the dates as is. The way the contract, the agreement reads, it's just an annual rollover. There's language within it that,
7 months.
any party has to 7 months in advance if they want to change it. So because we're not adopting an entire new agreement, it's just one change within the content of it. You don't need to, circle back.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Robbins?
There's a pretty long, involved form to get the not-for-profit status, and have these two new affiliates, have they been approved by the IRS?
So this agreement has nothing to do with the new affiliates.
Okay, I see.
This is agreement for just use of the VHAC facility. You had, within you, that's the next item on the agenda.
Sorry.
You have to do so. This is an agreement we have between us and the village, and just responsibilities of who does what at the VHAC.
Okay, so any other questions? So we have a motion for adoption, correct, of this? That's what we're calling it, adoption?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
And we have a second, so I need a roll call, please.
Commissioner Dorhoeffer?
Yes.
Commissioner Kessler?
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins?
Yes.
Commissioner Moline?
Yes.
President Baloo?
Yes, all pass. Okay, next up is the new affiliate IGA. Jeff, do you want to take this?
I'm sure. So you have copies of both the Vernon Hills Sports and the Vernon Hills Community Baseball Softball. I'm going to have to get used to these acronyms. I think we're just going to go CBS and
VH Sports.
VH Sports.
I think
or
that's
something.
what they're trying
What
to
they're
go
trying
to.
to do. Yeah. And so both presidents of these organizations have these documents. They reviewed them. The community baseball, softball did not have any issues with it today. These are drafts, so I'm not asking for any approval tonight from the board. And the Vernon Hills Sports is still going to get back to me on a couple things that they would like to just clean up and present back. So I would expect early next week that I should have what they would consider their final review of these. At that point, I'll send off to council. But in the interim, the board has these. If you have any questions or you have any inquiries, tonight's good. Or if you want to email me or call me over the next several days, and I would just, then we're going to have to adopt this, at a future board meeting. So they have, in answer to your question, Bruce, they have both applied for 501 status, and they have that. One has it completed, one has it in the works, and they expect to have that answer any day now. And so I don't expect to see that as a problem. They know it's a requirement of the district, so they're going to be fully compliant on that. And I got to say, they've been really easy to work with. I know some of you have sat in on some of those meetings, and they've been good. The problem we've always had in the past was the scope, our programming scope, and that's clearly defined in the initial resolution. It's clearly defined as one of the addendums within the content of the IGA, and there hasn't been any question, within that. Any other questions?
Any other questions?
I just have we can talk about it later.
Sure,
I just have
absolutely.
Now or?
Sure, you can talk about it. Yep.
Just on, for the baseball softball agreement, on page 9, it talks about Stinger tournaments and Cougar tournaments. Are they going by the words Cougars, or are they going to go by the acronym on this form?
They're going by community baseball stuff, but they're using Cougars.
I'm just wondering,
so,
just to be clear of what tournament it is on here, if that needs to be reviewed.
I can ask, sure,
Okay.
I can ask.
I have a bunch, but they're nothing that I think anyone would.
You want to ask now? You want to shoot me an email on them, Mike?
Yeah,
Whatever.
I'll sit down with you. I mean,
Okay,
they're
okay.
nothing dramatic. Probably the only one here, I'll tell you what, I will mention one because it has a little more to do with when it comes to reserving district fields, and that in each agreement it says that, because we used a template, I think, it says that organization has first right of refusal for all usage on fields. I think you need to wordsmith that a little bit so that because right now they get along great, but let's assume someday that they're not getting along so great, and they both have a right of first refusal on the same field. I mean, again, they're different organizations. It's not likely, but you never know. An indoor facility, something, I think we want to at least wordsmith that so that there's, when there was only one organization, it didn't matter, but.
Yeah, I think with community baseball and softball, what I've found is at least the communication, and Dave, you can jump in on this. I mean, I think they've said, they're talking a lot with the Stingers, that at least there's dialogue in advance for use of fields, maybe tournament, dates, and making sure that there's no overlap or who's going to get what. So I like that a lot more because that didn't happen.
Oh,
in
no,
the
I'm not
past.
suggesting there won't be, but we certainly don't want to
Dedicated.
give two different organizations
The same field.
right of first refusal on all district fields when we have first of all, we have other affiliates, not to mention the two affiliate. We will
Okay.
literally have two organizations with a right of first refusal,
Well, it goes
and
back
I don't
to-
know what it says on the Stingers agreement.
I was gonna say, these two aren't gonna fight because
I understand.
Very
they're
different
two
season.
totally different, but.
But soccer
but-
might need a
but
field
I was gonna
that's
say,
as
but you
big
have
as
soccer,
football.
lacrosse, and
Yeah.
football, you're gonna have Stingers
Yeah.
and community
Right.
baseball, softball, so we need to.
It's just, that's my only comment
Yeah.
was.
Okay.
Just a wordsmith, something other than right of first refusal.
Okay. Anything else?
The other ones we can
Anybody
talk
want-
about later, because they're all little
Okay.
things.
Okay, very good. All right, then next up is our Park District mowing contract recommendation. I need a motion to approve the recommendation that the 2015 park mowing contract be awarded to Acres Landscaping of Wakanda, Illinois for the yearly sum of $35,931.
So,
Second.
Discussion. Commissioner Robbins.
Question, what are we paying now for our park mowing?
Our current contract, which ends in May. Our current contract with them is $38,800. This new contract will be $2,869 less than our existing contract with Jamison Landscape Group.
Who are we with now?
We were with Jamison Landscape Group.
Okay, and for the public aloud, could you kind of explain what we use this for and where they actually mow and things like that?
Our the mowing contract here in the Village of Vernon Hills, they maintain our smaller parks, the smallest parks such as Hawthorne Melody, Hawthorne Club, Aspen Backyard, our small satellite parks, which we're unable to get to with the size crew that we have, so we contract those out. The park district maintains our larger parks, which would be Century Park, Deer Path Park, Hartman Park. Those are our large parks where we can mow them with our large mowers, our 16-foot mowers. Our small satellite parks, we just have the manpower to do that. If we do, we have to increase our manpower, increase our fleet, increase our equipment. So we opted to contract those smaller satellite parks out.
Okay. Any other questions for Mike? And just for clarification, there were seven.
I was just
there were 7 bidders.
Yes.
We did get 7. I won't say successful
from
bidders, but we got
35 to
7 bidders.
120,000.
Yes, with quite a variety of pricing, I might add. All right, so we have a motion and a second. I need a roll call, please.
Commissioner Mullane,
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins,
Yes.
Commissioner Kessler,
Yes.
Commissioner Dorhofer,
Yes.
President Blue.
Yes. All right, next is I need to approve the abatement ordinance 01-15, so I need a motion to approve that abatement ordinance 01-15.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Dorhofer,
Yes.
Commissioner Kessler,
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins,
Yes.
Commissioner Mullane,
Yes.
President Blue.
Yes. And then I need a motion to approve the W.W. Granger invoice in the amount of $3,935.18.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Kessler,
Yes.
Commissioner Mullane,
Yes.
Commissioner Dorhofer,
Abstain.
Commissioner Robbins,
Yes.
Commissioner Blue.
Yes. All right, next up is Commissioner comments. Commissioner Mullane, anything this evening?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Commissioner Robbins, anything?
Nothing.
Commissioner Kessler?
Just thanking all the parents for coming out last night. Thought it was great to have a good turnout.
Okay, Commissioner Dorhofer?
Just thank you to the school board for entrusting us with your program, and we will make it better.
Okay. And finally, I would like to echo the past two concerns of the parents that came out. Also, I'd like to thank Jeff Wilgus and Bill Paulson, I should say his last name wrong, for their efforts in really stepping up and putting together these 2 new groups. And I would also like to encourage anybody who wants to get on their boards to please contact them. They're looking for people to volunteer to be on their boards. So this is your opportunity, and I hope some people will take advantage of that.
And we'll have that information on our website if people are interested for their contact information
Okay.
as well.
Can I jump back?
You may, yes.
Just to echo what you said, if you've been bitching about the way things are done, now's your time to change it. Get involved.
I said that nicely.
Not so much.
Okay. With that, I need a motion to go into closed session under 2C1 and 2C2 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act respectively to discuss personnel decisions, salaries, and deliberations concerning salary schedules for 1 or more classes of employees.
So moved.
Second.
Need a roll call, please.
Commissioner Mullane,
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins,
Yes.
Commissioner Kessler,
Yes.
Commissioner Dorhofer,
Yes.
President Blue.
Yes. All right, we are adjourned to head on in, so. We go in the other room, Mike? Jeff?